All right, Clone Wars, episode 6. Jeff Lowe, KenJac, Robbie Fox, here to break down. We're halfway through. We're halfway done with this final season because unfortunately we only get 12 episodes. Everything seems shorter these days. Like this, Westworld's only 8. We're only getting 12 episodes, which may be a problem with this current episode. There are a lot of people who are a little disappointed with how this arc has slowed a bit. We'll get to that. Don't worry. But actually, let's just start out with that. Fuck it. Let's just do it off the bat. What did you think about the 6th episode of the Clone Wars?
KenJac?
I think it's definitely slow. There's no denying that, but I think part of like the effort of this arc anyway is to kind of is to slow things down and give it a more human aspect. You know, we're looking at like in the Clone Wars, like these giant, massive battles with the clones, and like everything is on a galactic scale. This is like bringing things back down small, which is sometimes important because it helps character development.
Yeah, I didn't love it. I thought, basically, I didn't realize that people didn't like this. I haven't seen what anyone said about it, but it makes sense what you said, that people are kind of iffy about it, because I agree with you, KenJac. It's important to slow things down, but for me, this final season only having 12 episodes, I wanted it to be balls to the wall the entire time, the whole way through. So this slowdown, this being like fucking Solo 2, made me a little didn't love it.
It's very Solo based.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But I would agree. I think in the context of the Clone Wars, I didn't hate the episode, but in the context of the shorter season, I was just kind of like, damn, like enjoyable stuff. If this was in a 22 episode season, I would have really liked it. But I agree with the people who say might have been a little more on, at least in terms of what you want from a final season, on, I guess, the boring or not as quite thrilling side of things, because you do want, in this shorter season, you want to get to the part that links up with Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. It's like the whole idea of this being a shorter season, like I would have hoped that this all would have been a little bit more fast-paced and cohesive. But so far, it looks like it's just really short, like maybe 3 arcs.
It seems like it's going to very quickly jump into the final conflict, though. Like it's going to maybe happen next episode out of nowhere. And if not, it obviously will happen in the one. But I think the next one, it's going to kind of happen right at the end. And we're going to see it move into, get into motion. Because there is a bit of a timeline question with this episode as well, where this falls into the timeline of Revenge of the Sith in future episodes into this. So we'll answer that question as well. But again, it's tough. Final season, you have less episodes. You're gonna have a harder time really kind of nailing everything, because there actually are some Star Wars things in here that I really like. That you like to hear and you don't get to see very often. So regardless, think it's maybe a little boring, thinking maybe slowed it down a bit. We're going to break it down. It starts out with Ahsoka helping fix and build the starship for one of the 2 sisters, Trace. She's even Trace asked her, like, what academy is she from? She has the Skywalker Academy. Really quick on her toes there. Good to hear.
Yeah.
They talk about school. Talk about it like whenever we break down Star Wars, if you watch these videos, you know, whether it's this or Mandalorian, we love when they reference it. You never hear it. You don't hear about school very often, because she talks about academy, how she couldn't afford academy, or if they didn't even have any in the basements of Coruscant.
Only like the Imperial Academy. That's really it. Never really anything like a private academy.
Or like something to bring you into the war, Starfleet Academy, or whatever, you know, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually just military base, and she's like, I don't know, like I can't go to college. Too many student loans.
She's like, fucking, we got to elect old Bernie Sandinarian.
Can't afford college. Sister Rafa.
Anakin hates him.
Rafa, Trace's sister, they find out inherited the hangar from their parents. That's why they're kind of on their own. Their parents split up at some point. Though she paused when she said split. That made it kind of imply that maybe they aren't alive either. It was kind of weird how that was delivered. She also won her shop in gambling, and she uses it as a front or a scheme. I'll tell you what, Rafa, big into schemes.
Yeah,
scheme person.
It's a big underworld thing. Everyone in the underworld needs to be scheming on something.
She definitely reposts Facebook posts about like different different products and things that might help your life, and it's definitely a big schemer.
Works for Vector, I'm sure.
Yeah,
fit tummy tea.
Yes.
Yeah,
big tummy tea person.
The starship is titled the Silver Angel. That's what Trace calls it, and both characters say it's a shit name. Ahsoka and her sister like, it's a bad name.
Yeah, it's not good.
Sounds like an anime character or something. I'm not a fan.
It's
not Star Warsy. It doesn't sound like something from Star Wars.
Which I like. They kind of say it sucks. They're like, yeah, we'll just call it a crappy name. We'll just say it sucks. Like I like that angle of it, because we do get, like, you get the Malevolent, you get Millennium Falcon. I'm thinking like the Outrider from Shadows of the Empire. You get ship names, but never like directly talked about. Also, I need to note, building starships and not testing them before using them seems very dangerous.
You should probably test them.
Just took that. Actually, I thought, oh, this has to be like a subplot in this episode. It's just going to crash back down or just like not take. It took off. They're lucky, but doing that hyperdrive the first time, you haven't tested that yet.
Hasn't tested the hyperdrive. Hasn't tested being in space. Like one crack in that hull, and you're all getting sucked through it and turned into like chunky noodle soup. Like you don't want that.
Before we move on here, I have a question for you guys. This is something that I was thinking of during the episode that I wanted to bring up before I forgot. Ahsoka's entire, her head, you know, the thing she's got on her head. I don't even know what to call them. What texture do you think those things are? You think those are hard? Do you think if you knocked on those like a cup check, they would make a noise? Or you think they're kind of
like
her hair.
Horn things.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like an octopus or something. I always thought it was like not squishy. Or I guess it is kind of squishy. I don't know.
You know the like a stress ball. That's what I think. I think that's what it's like a stress ball, like a softer stress ball.
Yeah, I like that because I was watching this episode and we've been talking about the animation, the hair flowing in the wind, everything flowing in the wind, and they kind of had a bit of a bounce to them. So I was like, what the fuck are those things?
Yeah, like a memory foam almost. Yeah. Yeah. You put your handprint in those and it just stays there for like 10 seconds.
You know what's hair? I don't like Trace's hair because she doesn't have a forehead. Like the hair goes down to her eye level. It starts here.
It is weird. Yeah, she's just got bangs. She only has bangs.
Yeah. It's deranged. It's literally just one large bang that starts at her eyebrows.
We're nearing, but we've never seen a barber in Star Wars. Might be seeing that.
Yeah.
We saw laundromat. We were talking about school. We're gonna start seeing like beauty salons and shit. So Rafa had a job fall through. And so that's what she kind of brings to Trace and Ahsoka. Trace is going to help her pilot and do the job. Rafa won't tell Ahsoka what the job is. And Rafa's very skeptical of Ahsoka. She's like, you've been awful close to her really quickly. What the fuck's your deal? What are you doing here? Which Ahsoka should be like, I crashed here. I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do? Crash somewhere else?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. We're friends.
It's not like I just showed up and had like, hey, I got a program for you to invest in. Again, Rafa, skeptical, big on schemes. Trace accidentally, this is a cool moment, flies into a military lane when she's leaving Coruscant with all the clone ships, and she's hailed by Admiral Wolf Yularen, who's in, by the way, he's in plenty of things beyond just Clone Wars. He makes an appearance in Rebels. He's also technically in A New Hope. Like
they go back and say, yeah, he's there. There he is.
Yeah,
that guy with the white hair over there.
This was him. Yeah. You can see if you're watching the video, you can see it on screen. So
he's the narrator too. No,
he is. Yeah. He does the narration in the beginning. So Wolf Yularen hails him. He's like, "What's your call sign or whatever?" He goes, "What are you doing in this lane? Like, can't be here." They kind of go back and forth. They're like, it's an accident. Like, no big deal. Don't worry about it. They think they're getting out of it. They're like, we're just gonna fly away. Just fly higher. And then you go into the ship, and he's actually next to Anakin. Anakin's standing there. And they're kind of going back and forth. Anakin's asking about that ship, like, what's that transport? Who's on that? And then Anakin senses Ahsoka, and Ahsoka senses Anakin back. We've seen moments like this before, and then Anakin kind of lets them pass because Wolf's like, what do I do? I was going to send people after them. I was going to send basically police after them. But I think it's interesting because does this set up again why Ahsoka lives through Order 66? Because you see Anakin clearly has a lot of sympathy for her in the sense like she's definitely on there. I got to let her do her thing. Like I have too much love and respect for her. Like, do you think that this maybe teases why she lives all the way through to Rebels and then after Rebels as well?
Like, do I think Anakin had anything to do with her survival of Order 66?
Yeah, this kind of makes me think he might have. Yeah,
I don't think so. I think they'll give Ahsoka the moment of her like fighting back and running away. I guess like Obi-Wan and Yoda did as well, but. I could definitely see that becoming a possibility. I think this opens the door for it, like you said.
Yeah, I think every single Jedi who's escaped at Order 66, they've given the moment of escape. I agree with you, Robbie, that they're definitely going to give her that. This also reminded me of Return of the Jedi, when Luke goes by and Vader senses him. Same guy. It's like the same moment. Or
Last Jedi, even when it's Leia and Kylo flashing back and forth.
Yep,
sensing each other.
Very, very similar. Also, why is Wolf Yularen? He's fucking admiral. Why is he doing like air traffic control? Like, delegate that to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Admiral Piet did it in Return of the Jedi too. But like, why is that the job for the admirals?
Yeah, like you kind of think if you get promoted that high, you shouldn't have to do that anymore.
That's a plebe job. How many ships are, especially in Coruscant, how many ships are flying by that thing?
Yeah,
check
really.
every one.
Yeah,
It's like a toll booth guy.
Yeah,
exactly.
People have kind of talked about too on the Star Wars Reddit on Twitter about how he looks age-wise. Again, we're going to tackle where this may fall into place with the timeline. So they finally figure out where they're going. They're actually going to Kessel. And we'll talk a little more about Kessel later on Easter eggs. But Kessel, obviously, a very famous Star Wars thing, all the way from A New Hope. When they talk about the Kessel Run, they do it. They address that in Solo. You see kind of the nicer side of Kessel. In Solo, we saw the really dingy
mines
side. Yeah, the mines. This one, you saw shrubbery, greens, trees, forest, kind of the more lavish part of Kessel, where the people who run the planet. That's where they are. Rafa reveals that they're going to pick up quote unquote medicine. Shady. That right off the bat, something's up. You're not gonna pick up medicine. Like there's something involved there.
That's what you say for a drug deal. You're like, we're going to pick up medicine. Yeah, it's medicine. It'll make you feel good.
They meet a Twi'lek Kanash Locke on behalf of King Yoruba. I think as you say it. Kanash Locke is the major doma of King Yoruba. They actually reference, apparently in the Solo visual dictionary, this King Yoruba is referenced. He's not in Solo, but he does get a reference. Everyone's together for like a feast. They're drinking this weird like green juice, like this glow in the darkish looking green juice. Yeah, it was. It was basically an appletini. Kanash reveals that the medicine is actually just unrefined spice. So there you go. I mean, it's just drugs. Just call it drugs. And I know. I mean, this just the whole thing sounded like a pyramid scheme. The entire time they were talking about it, where she's like, "Oh, you never know what you're gonna do with this stuff. Like, it could help anybody." It's like,
acai berries or something.
Yeah, it's like, all right, your superfoods you're trying to get out of it. Like, what are we doing here?
I felt like secondhand anxiety for Ahsoka just sitting there. Like, get out of there. You don't want to associate with these people.
It's always people stink. So they head out to go get the spice. They go to the mines of Kessel. They go to kind of, again, the uglier side of Kessel. There's human slaves who are working. There's a really interesting comment about Ahsoka noticing the slaves and mentioning them. And Trace and Rafa talk about, the Republic would shut it down if it was wrong. And she's like, I don't know if they would shut it down. It's like,
pretty adult moment here where it's like, shit's corrupt, guys. Like, I don't. The galaxy's not what you think it is.
Yeah, like you guys obviously don't like the galaxy and you don't like the Jedi, but I think you don't even know how bad it is.
Very political moment, which is very rare especially from someone like Ahsoka, who's just been kind of sheltered from all that in the Jedi Order.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. She's definitely realizing and learning. So then they're going to go make the sale. Now they're on their way. They don't know where they're going yet. And then Rafa reveals it's for the PYKE Syndicate, which is a very obviously key set of characters in the Clone Wars. They were part of the Shadow Collective with Darth Maul. Last time we'd really seen them, I guess, Darth Maul had control over them. So they're going to Obadiah, a planet, the PYKE Syndicate. Marg Krim is kind of the leader. It's a character we've seen plenty of times in the Clone Wars, and they're arguing about the spice, and Ahsoka's like, you can't be doing this. Like, let's take it to somewhere where we could actually use the spice for actual medicine. Like, you're basically bringing these are drugs. You're bringing these to bad people. And then through all this, Rafa just Trace decides to dump the cargo, and the spice just goes flying into hyperspace, and it's gone. So now they're like, well, now we're really fucked. Because Ahsoka's like, all right, well, the last thing we could have done is dump it. I'd rather sell it to the bad people than dump it. Now we have nothing. So they land there on Obadiah. They meet up with the PYKE Syndicate. So again, we've seen those characters before, and Ahsoka uses a Jedi mind trick to get Marg Krim to be like, yes, just take the money and leave. I don't need to check the spices, whatever, just go. But as they do that, his major dome of Fife senses, he's like, all right, something's fucked up here. This is not like you. You're one of the worst people in the galaxy. By the way, Marg Krim touches either, I think it was Trace or Rafa's face. Aliens in Star Wars love touching faces.
Yeah, big
they do. Like Snoke touching Rey's face with his gross fingernails. How about we stop spreading the coronavirus, all right?
Yeah, maybe it's because we're just in this quarantine. We're like, oh man, a lot of face touching here.
We're hypersensitive.
Funny, because corona is actually a space term. The corona of the sun.
Well, there you go.
Oh,
see, it all makes sense.
Full circle.
So Fife then gets the crates, and they're starting to leave, and he's like, all right, I got to start checking this. And he shoots open the crates, and there's nothing in there. They've been duped. They've been bamboozled. And then he calls for the ships to come on up and stop them.
Like Solo.
It is, yeah. They're locked into a tractor beam, and that's how the episode ends. They're kind of stuck on that planet. Anything else from that episode that stuck out that I might not have mentioned? We're about to get the Easter eggs, so I'm sure some of it might be in there.
I will say some cool visuals on Kessel. The higher class visuals, kind of Game of Thronesy, more fantasy-esque that we don't see out of Star Wars a ton. The castle type vibes. I thought that was cool. I like seeing that stuff in Star Wars, just different stuff.
For sure. I noticed the Targaryen was a slave master of all those guys on Kessel, and that's one of my favorite arcs from Clone Wars was when Anakin finds out that they're like a Targaryen is the bad guy for the Trade Federation. They go to the slave planet and everything, and he hates them obviously because he's a former slave. So that was cool to see. A little throwback.
Yeah, we haven't really talked much about like slaves in this universe since obviously Attack of the Clones, when we talk about Klieg Lars being a real piece of shit. Him and Shmi, Watto, all that. Easter eggs. There was a pit droid in the hangar in the beginning of the episode. Always cool to see pit droids.
These are becoming pretty common in Star Wars universe. Like pit droids are just all over the place.
Made their return in Mandalorian, which is a pretty cool Easter egg. You're like, whoa, seen those since the prequel. It's always cool when the prequel stuff comes back, even though this is technically a prequel series. But always want to see them come back and just remember those visuals. Big time A New Hope vibes when they're being hailed by Wolf Yularen, because it, in my eyes, reminded me of Han Solo talking when they enter the cell block and they look at Princess Leia. He goes, "Oh, we're fine up here. How are you?" Like that same thing, where it was like, "Oh yeah, we're good. Don't worry." It's kind of rushing him off the phone call. That gave me a lot of those vibes. Return of the Jedi vibes, obviously, with the ship passing through Admiral Piet, and even the way Anakin was standing. Like he was standing on the bridge there watching it pass by. It had like I haven't looked at the visuals side by side yet, but I think they would line up a lot. Though Admiral Piet was much nicer in Return of the Jedi than he was like, fuck these people. Let's just send the cops, let's bring them in. Like, I don't have time for this. There you go. Maybe that's the thing. He's like, I don't have time for this. Like I can't believe you're making me do this job. This is a ridiculous job.
Not an admiral job. That should be a scrub job.
Yeah. Kessel. Obviously, the Kessel Run. We saw the planet for the first time in a series or movie in Solo. Spent a lot of time on there. That's where that one Phoebe Waller-Bridge droid died, and then Lando hooked it up to the ship or something like that.
Now she's the Millennium Falcon. Fleabag.
Fleabag is the Millennium Falcon. That's a movie.
Video talks to her. So awesome.
No matter how much Star Wars I got, it's still a movie I just don't. Even though I think I have Solo toys somewhere. Just a movie I don't remember all that much. But yeah, it's cool to see Kessel. Obviously, it's been in Star Wars lore since the literal beginning. No Kessel Run this time. I do love when they enter Kessel, the atmosphere, and it's all stormy and shit. And they have
that's really cool.
Yeah, that always looks neat.
Also, great Battlefront 2 map, Kessel. Really good.
Battlefront 2. I gotta play PS2 Battlefront, by the way. Need to play that. Also, they're re-releasing Phantom Menace or Episode 1 Pod Racer.
Yeah, for Nintendo Switch.
Play the shit
and PS4. They're PS4 and Nintendo
really?
Switch. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Cool.
Yeah, we'll definitely be playing that.
We'll play it online. We could probably stream it.
Like a Forza 1 style. Oh, man, I would love that.
Definitely going to play it. Spice. We've mentioned a lot of Spice recently in Star Wars.
Mandalorian, big moment.
Yeah, Spice. Mandalorian, Spice, and Rise of Skywalker. They talk about how Poe was a Spice runner. They're really bringing drugs into the mix more.
Spice just means drug dealer.
As marijuana becomes more legal across the country, just Star Wars are injecting more and more into lore. Because I mean, we've heard Spice straight from the original Star Wars, and obviously one of the most related things is Jabba gets pissed at Han. Now this is not the original. This is the special edition when they bring Jabba into A New Hope. He's like, I don't want someone who dumps cargo at the first sign of trouble. That's literally what happens in this. Trace dumps cargo at the first sign of trouble while on the way to Kessel. So again, a lot of Han Solo ties with this, which was pretty cool without a direct reference, which is always neat. And then finally, again, the PYKE Syndicate. We've seen Mark Krim before, and we've apparently seen Fife. We have seen Fife, but Fife is a more fleshed out character apparently in, I haven't read them, the Darth Maul comics.
Okay, cool.
Okay. I've heard good things about those, actually.
Son of Dathomir, all that, yeah. So that's a character that's been more fleshed out. Comments and questions at the other Berman says, wish they would have set up last 2 episodes as a single episode. I think we've gone over that. Just wanted to know if that's kind of
feel that way about almost the whole season. They should have given us 6 really long episodes. I think I would have preferred that.
Yeah, I would agree. Again, I like what we've got, and I'm enjoying it.
It's not bad, but it's just it leaves you wanting it too much more every time. I
don't think it's going to matter at the end. I think we're going to get the last 5 episodes, and we're going to be like, whoa, these are fucking awesome, and Maul, and it's going to tie in, and you're going to forget. But then maybe you're going to look back like, I wish like just in the beginning, maybe they would have done like a little more.
Yeah, I think they're going to close out this arc at this next episode, and then that's going to bridge into the next arc, which is going to be the closing one, which we're going to get more of like kind of fleshing out Anakin's story between like this and what do you call it, Revenge of the Sith. So
yeah,
hopefully.
This is from the Star Wars Reddit. This is kind of a crazy poll. This is why the Star Wars Reddit. Watchmen they're like, oh, like the Marvel Watchmen, all those Westworld does it. They pull crazy shit that like we're
Just
big
nerds.
Fans. We're big fans, but this is some real nerd shit, and I love it. This user on Reddit, SHADOWGATA, brought up this passage. I like saying passage like it's a fucking Bible. Drop my phone from the Attack of the Clones book, apparently. Because they reference slaves here, they reference the Republic, and Ahsoka's like, I don't know if we should trust them. And she's like, I know you think they would shut it down, but I've seen the corruption. This is from Count Dooku. He says, the Jedi Order's problem is Yoda. No one can wield that kind of power for centuries without becoming complacent at best or corrupt at worst. He has no idea it's overtaken him. He no longer sees all the little cumulative evils that the Republic tolerates and fosters, from slavery to endless wars. And he never asks, why are we not acting to stop this? Live alongside corruption for too long and you no longer notice the stench. The Jedi cannot help the slaves of Tatooine, but they can help the slave masters. So that's exactly what was said here.
I mean, Dooku also then revives the Targaryen Empire and revives slavery, so maybe he's a little bit of a hypocritical asshole.
Dooku's like, I mean, I'm part of the problem too, but he's got to see it, right? Like, it's basically, he's that was that click hole. It's absolute worst person makes great. Makes a good
point. Yeah.
That's basically what Dooku's doing there. And then lastly, another user from the Reddit brought this up. Sam the Yam Man says,
"Love that."
Wait, so is Maul still in control of the Pikes? And he got a couple replies because obviously the Pike Syndicate and the way this lines up, and Anakin on Coruscant or near Coruscant, how close does this go to Revenge of the Sith? Because in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin had not been on or around Coruscant or around Padme for a while, and the replies were saying they think he lost their support in the Son of Dathomir comic. If this plays after that, then no. Someone else said it's hard to tell. Had the show not been canceled, the original version of this arc would have come out before the Son of Dathomir. But for the season 7 revival, both Bad Batch and this Ahsoka arc seem to have moved far closer to the events of Revenge of the Sith. Bad Batch is now part of the Outer Rim sieges, and Ahsoka's arc seems like it's going to lead directly into the Siege of Mandalore. So the timing might be a little different here. And so because Ahsoka's arc kind of picks up more towards where the end of season 5 ended. So this might be a little before the Bad Batch or not exactly lining up with when that happened. I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things. It's all going to converge together in the end. But this does happen maybe at a different timeline than the first 4 episodes we saw, which is common for the Clone Wars, especially early on. There were a lot of Clone Wars episodes that were out of order. And if you went back and rewatch, you kind of have to know that because you potentially be confused. But yeah, the timing is definitely different here. Any final thoughts? I know we've seen a tease of Ahsoka meeting up with Bo-Katan and going back to Mandalore, and you see in that shot, you see Trace and Rafa. So that has to happen within the next 2 episodes. I think it's going to be a pretty abrupt heel turn next episode where the Pike Syndicate is connected in some way, shape, or form to Maul and Bo-Katan, and then you kind of all see it mesh together, and that's where we see the final arc of the story. I think it's kind of lining up as to how the Pike Syndicate storyline is going to end here.
I think I covered everything on my end that I was looking for. My least favorite of the season, it wasn't a bad episode by any means, just a little bit boring, and I'm excited for Maul next week.
Yeah, definitely a little bit boring. I think I would say my least favorite part is the ending, just because I was expecting something big to happen, and there's nope, you got detained. I was like, oh, okay, a little bit anticlimactic, but that's fine. But other than that, I think it's a good setup.
It definitely feels like a bit of filler. I think when we rewatch this a while down the road, we're gonna like it. But I think we're still gonna be like, I wish they would have packed a little more in there. And I'm not even saying like Boba and Cad Bane. I'm not even sure it's necessary for the story, but I feel like you could have maybe rushed the first couple, or not rushed, or condensed them, and then really fleshed out Order 66, Siege of Mandalore, and all that. But we'll see. I think there's still an entire half of the season left, and I think we're going to really kick into gear pretty much next week because I think the Pike Syndicate's going to have to be connected some way, shape, or form to Maul, and that's how it's going to kind of tie into Siege of Mandalore and all that. So we're going to be doing a live watch of Revenge of the Sith, ironically enough, very soon on this YouTube page. Make sure if you're on YouTube to hit subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, and obviously the bell icon that we know when more of these come out. We'll have another one a week from now. Next Friday, isn't next Friday April? Yeah. First episode of April we'll be doing. We're halfway done with this series. We're doing a live watch on this channel of Revenge of the Sith, other movies as well, and Westworld on Mondays. That's it. Again, hit subscribe. It's a big help. For Robbie and KenJac, I'm Jeff Lowe. Talk to you next time.